Hey guys, welcome back to Celebsnoop. You know me, I love a good story, especially when it comes to Hollywood. And trust me, nobody does drama quite like the movie industry. Movies, those larger-than-life stories we love to watch. From high-speed chases to tear-jerking moments, these films capture our imaginations and become a part of our culture. But what really happens behind the camera? You know, the moments that never make it into the blooper reel or the press tour? The fights, the screw-ups, the crazy stories? That's what we're diving into today, people. Let's pull back the curtain and look at what really goes on behind the scenes of some of the most iconic movies of all time. Let's get into the gritty details. First up, we're traveling back to 1939, to the set of one of the most beloved films of all time, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, who doesn't love this movie? It's pure magic. But behind the magic, things were a little, well, not so magical. Especially for Margaret Hamilton, the actress who played the Wicked Witch of the West. Now picture this, you're on set, in full costume, green makeup and all, ready to terrify some kids. Sounds fun, right? Not so fast. Turns out the green makeup they used on Margaret was incredibly toxic. We're talking about copper-based paint here, people. It wasn't water-soluble either, which meant Margaret was stuck in that green goo for days on end. Talk about dedication to the craft, right? But here's the real kicker. During her famous disappearing act in a puff of smoke, the special effects malfunctioned. Can you imagine? The smoke and flames sparked a fire, and Margaret's makeup, that toxic copper paint, heated up and burned her face and hands. Talk about a nightmare. She suffered second-degree burns and had to take weeks off to recover. And if that wasn't enough, Jack Haley, who played the Tin Man, also had a rough go with his costume. The original silver makeup they used on him contained aluminum dust, and guess what? He was allergic. I mean, who knew, right? He ended up with an eye infection so bad they had to recast him and redo the makeup with a safer alternative. Next up, we're diving into the deep end with Steven Spielberg's 1975 summer blockbuster Jaws. This movie single-handedly made everyone I know terrified to go in the ocean. But what you might not know is that the real star of the show, that terrifying mechanical shark, was a total diva on set. Spielberg nicknamed this mechanical menace Bruce, and let me tell you, Bruce was not camera-ready most of the time. This thing was a 25-foot, 12,000-pound hunk of metal and rubber, and it was supposed to be the stuff of nightmares. But more often than not, Bruce was more likely to sink to the bottom of the ocean than scare anyone. Imagine this, you're Steven Spielberg, a young director with a big vision, and your big bad shark, the whole point of the movie, just keeps sinking. They'd crank up the machinery and nothing. Bruce was about as scary as a beached whale. But Spielberg, being the genius that he is, decided to use Bruce's malfunctions to his advantage. He realized that the less the audience saw of the shark, the scarier it became. So instead of relying on cheesy special effects, he built suspense through music, camera angles, and those iconic underwater shots. And you know what? It worked. Jaws terrified audiences worldwide, and that iconic theme song still gives me chills. Sometimes, the best scares are the ones you don't see. Chapter 3. From a galaxy far, far away, let's talk about Star Wars, specifically Harrison Ford and his not-so-secret disdain for some of his most famous lines. Now, Han Solo, the roguish smuggler with a heart of gold, is one of the coolest characters in cinematic history. But behind that cool exterior, Harrison Ford was battling some serious script issues. You see, Ford, a man of few words both on and off screen, found some of Han Solo's dialogue, let's just say, a little cheesy. He thought it was too on the nose, not very subtle. And the line that really got under his skin, the infamous "I love you, I know" exchange with Princess Leia, I mean, it's one of the most iconic lines in movie history. It's become a pop culture phenomenon. But Ford thought it was too mushy, not very Han Solo. He wanted something more sarcastic, more in line with his character's cynical nature. But George Lucas, the mastermind behind Star Wars, stuck to his guns. He knew what he wanted, and he wasn't afraid to butt heads with his stars. And you know what? It worked. The "I love you, I know" line became an instant classic, proving that sometimes, a little cheese is all you need to create a cinematic masterpiece. Chapter 4. Now let's head back to the gritty streets of 1970s New York City with The Godfather. This movie is a masterpiece of gangster cinema, full of iconic performances, unforgettable characters, and one very special feline scene stealer. In the opening scene, Marlon Brando, as the menacing Don Vito Corleone, is seen stroking a cat. It's a quiet moment that speaks volumes about his character. But what you might not know is that the cat wasn't originally in the script at all. It was a stray that wandered onto the set, and Brando, being the animal lover that he was, decided to improvise. He scooped up the cat, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now imagine you're the director, Francis Ford Coppola. You've got Marlon Brando, one of the biggest stars in the world, on set. And he's going off script with a stray cat. But Coppola, being the visionary that he is, recognized the magic of the moment and kept rolling. And thank goodness he did. The cat's presence adds a layer of warmth and humanity to Don Corleone's character, making him seem more relatable, even as he's ordering hits and dispensing brutal justice. It's a reminder that sometimes the best moments in film are the ones that are unplanned and unexpected. Chapter 5. And finally, we end our journey with a trip to the Overlook Hotel, the setting of Stanley Kubrick's psychological thriller, The Shining. This movie is full of iconic moments, from the creepy twins to the rivers of blood, but perhaps the most terrifying scene of all is Jack Nicholson's infamous "Here's Johnny" breakdown. Now, Jack Nicholson is known for his intense acting style, but for this scene, he took it to a whole other level. Kubrick, notorious for his demanding directing style and endless takes, pushed Nicholson to his absolute limit, both physically and emotionally. They shot that scene over and over again for days on end, with Nicholson becoming increasingly frustrated and exhausted. The hotel set, which was supposed to be a place of warmth and luxury, became a pressure cooker of tension and anxiety. And you know what? It worked. Nicholson's performance in that scene is absolutely chilling, a testament to the power of method acting and a director who's willing to push his actors to their absolute breaking point. But here's the kicker. That iconic line, "Here's Johnny," it wasn't even in the script. Nicholson improvised it, drawing inspiration from The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, which was hugely popular at the time. So as you can see, movies aren't always the polished, perfect machines we see on screen. Behind every epic moment there are stories of struggle, accidents, and creative decisions that almost went terribly wrong. From makeup disasters to last-minute improvisations, the truth behind the scenes of iconic films is often far crazier than we ever imagined. And that's what makes them so fascinating, because it's those behind-the-scenes stories, those moments of chaos and creativity, that make our favorite movies so special. They remind us that even the most iconic films are made by real people, with real flaws and real stories to tell. If you want to hear more wild stories about movies you love, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out the next video, with subtitles.